I'm the mercenary, Flip Gordon. And I'm joining the U.S. Assassins team.
Yeah, this is U.S. Assassin. They bout the action, ready to make it happen. Yeah, this is the elite government task force. Whole team is official. What more could you ask for? Yeah, this is U.S. Assassin. You don't want drama. If they pull up, they blasting. Monsters of the graveyard shift. You ain't never seen a squad quite like this. We got Bazooka Dog, and he don't cut no slack. A dog with a giant bazooka on his back. Slither is a reptilian, alien. 3 snakes for a tongue. You don't wanna mess with him. Sensei Steel, who is so mysterious, martial artist and trainer. Swift with the kicks. Zero Face is a bad guy turned good. The mercenary is a beast, get it understood. Takeout is a fast shooter, fast draw. Kirby is the Lone Ranger, but she hits hard. Lieutenant Rafe, second in command. Yes indeed, who's the brains of the team? A super ninja at the lead. Yeah, hey, this is U.S. Assassin. Yeah, this is U.S. Assassin. Let's go.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Primetime Poulton, the Moral Compass, and this is La Pod Gods. But if you'll notice, something's a little different. Missing the main event, Phil McNulty, but we have a fill-in for Phil. Michael Bancroft's joining us today. Michael, man, thanks for joining us, man.
That trailer was insane.
Oh, thank you.
Live action rap. It was funny too. He's got 3 snakes for a tongue.
So I play that for La Pod Gods because the guy at the beginning is Flip Gordon, and he's a professional wrestler. Nice. So he's joining the team with Volume 3. Very excited about it, and yeah, that trailer is probably one of my proudest accomplishments. Even though I really had nothing to do putting it together, it was Ted Zagara who did the editing, and I hired
the song.
I hired a rapper off of Fiverr. His name is M. Burton. Yeah, no. This is the best money I've ever spent. I emailed him and I was like, "Hey, I have this idea for a song for my comic book. I want it to be like a Saturday morning intro for a cartoon series." And I told him every character, and I gave him like a description, and then like he used my exact sentences. Like you were laughing at Slither, reptilian alien, 3 snakes for a tongue. I sent him that like description, and then he just added the little rhyme at the end that was like, "You don't want to mess with him." So, so yeah, it came together fantastic. We got a lot
it's hard to find good help when you get the hands of a true creative like that.
Yeah, no, really happy with how it turned out. We got Don Chin in the chat. Don says, Bancroft, don't touch Poulton's hair. It makes him very angry.
And we wouldn't want that. I've already made Mark Poulton incredibly angry at me in the past. One offhand comment, which, So for people who are just like the Pod God watchers and they don't know who Michael Bancroft is. Michael is a comic creator like me. Well, not like me, because I'm just a writer, a hobby writer at that. and Michael's the real deal. Michael, a hobby writer,
is a writer and artist. He does it all.
And I'm coming from the place of I haven't even had my first book out yet, so I'm in a real good place to talk smack on Mark. As you can see behind him, I mean, what's the guy got to his name? Nothing.
Just a few books.
Just a few little books. No one's ever heard of them.
Before we get into wrestling, let's talk about your comic for a second. I brought up the Indiegogo page. I always see you talking about the progress, but never really what the Lucent is about. So if you don't mind cluing people in.
The indomitable mystery. Yeah. So I was told that because the Lucent it's a mystery thriller book, so it's not your normal regular sort of superhero fare. But for me, with comic books, I like powers. Like if I'm reading a comic, I want there something to be fantastic. So we got all that in here.
But if you want to kind of know what sort of story it's like, think things like Matrix, Inception. It might be a little hint from the title. It sounds a bit like Lucid. It's got to do with dreams. Basically, the main character is sort of like your Neo type character or Luke Skywalker, that kind of character, where at the start of the story, she doesn't really know anything about this world that she's living in. There's all these sort of secret society types. They exist in the shadows. They're super powerful. And she doesn't know that they're all kind of focused on her. She has no idea about any of that. So we sort of see this strange world through her eyes, and it's an ongoing series. And basically, I mean, it's always hard to do this pitch because it is like I really do lean heavily on the mystery. That's the kind of the big fun for me.
Yeah.
And everyone likes to make fun of me for that because it's because it's everyone is the Joker. So what the hell is the Lucent? It's I can't tell you because that would ruin the whole fun of it. But yeah, it's got to do with dreams. It's got to do with the kind of the barrier between dreams and reality. I love alternate history. So if you like things like Assassin's Creed, where you take real things in history and then put them into fiction.
Yeah,
I'm so down with that, and that like the Lucent is full of that. So you can see here, this is set in like 2,000 years ago or so, with the Romans, and as the story progresses, you see other historical events and times and stuff like that, and I see Mo Biggs there in the chat. Mo wants me to say that the Lucent it's a bit like a puzzle. You get you get the pieces together, and you put them. You find pieces that match together, and you see other pieces that match together, and you wonder how they connect. And you got to keep reading the series to see the greater picture emerge as you go. And speaking of puzzles, there is a puzzle available on the campaign page. Actually, two puzzles.
It's funny you mentioned that. It almost pains me to say this, but I was talking to my son today. My son's big into puzzles. Actually, this morning after I got back from the gym, we completed a puzzle of his, and I was saying, "Oh, my friend Michael, he has a puzzle as part of his Indiegogo campaign," and he was like, "What?" He was like, "With an idea like that, he must be as rich as Bill Gates."
Almost.
I was like, well, I don't know about that, but I'll give him credit. It was a good idea.
Yeah, there was a little pushback in the chat. Mo Biggs now is saying like he didn't say that. He doesn't want me to talk about the puzzle all the time. But we know he's just having a laugh. The puzzles turned out well, and I've just actually added a new tier, a new perk, because why not add perks just before you're about to go to print, and like months and months into your in demand. So it's a secret perk. You have to get to it through the updates, or you can add on to the book. And basically anyone who watches my channel knows that I spent a lot of time. This is my first book I ever made. Even though I've been doing art for a long time, it's the first time I ever did comic book art. So there was a bit of a teething period, especially with the faces, some of the, body positions, the hands and that sort of stuff. So for the last, 3 or 4 months, my editor and I have been working on it to get it up to the standard that you would expect if you were to back a book that costs $25. So a lot of people in my chat were saying, well, I want to see some of like what it used to look like, what it used to be, what it was originally, my original creation. There's Lord Crackhead there. Yeah, release the Crackhead cut. Some of the characters looked like they have an addiction problem. They looked like that. They don't now, thank goodness. But it's like it's a double thing. It's kind of just shows the sort of a growth of my art, but also as well the what an editor can bring to a book if they've they get that red pen out and tell the creator what needs to be changed. So that's available now as well as an add-on. That's like a 36-page comic, and everything's original lettering, original art, original colors. My God, it's going to be a thing of, I wouldn't say beauty, it's going to be a thing of interest for anyone who's a fan.
I will say you love doing your backgrounds. Those look fantastic.
I do love the backgrounds. You got to play to your strengths. I really enjoy drawing them much more than I enjoy drawing the figures. The buildings and backgrounds, they just are what they are. There's no, but when it comes to figures and everything, you got to worry about motion and gesture and clothing. Like no one has a skin tights in this book. Everyone's in normal clothing, and I since learned since I started this that comic book artists hate that, and I can totally understand why. It is it's a struggle, but it has to be done.
Well, I think I'm going to have to break down and get that puzzle. My son seemed really excited when I was telling him about it. So yeah,
do it, man. It ships within days. Like I've had people receive it in a couple of days.
And the book's going to print very soon. You said?
Yeah. I'm doing the press. I'm gonna finish off the press of the main book. So with this, you get the main book, which is it's an 80-page book. The story itself is 60 pages, and there's extra stuff in there. And then there's also a 10-page preview of the next book. That's like an extra comic. And then there's prints and other stuff in there. But yeah, I'm getting the press ready file done today of the main book. They'll get that get a print proof copy printed. Make sure it's all looking good, and then we'll start the big production.
Awesome. So you'll have another backer later tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you.
But let's well, before we talk the wrestling, I just want to shout out the people in the chat. We got Darren Wagner here. What's up, Darren? Thanks for joining us. Mr. Von Stugel. Sean Arendt, best friend Sean, who says, Primetime Poulton and Bancroft together on one stream for a common cause. I feel the world is healing itself, and we, the people, are evolving into what? I'm not sure, but I'll take it. Sean getting really deep there, man.
Thank you, Justin.
Darren smells what the Poulton is cooking. We got Eric McIntyre in the chat. We got Mo Biggs. Hail Mo. Booty Juice. We got Booty Juice in the house. Have you seen the fan art Booty Juice did for Sea Dog?
Yes, I believe I have. I've seen a bunch of his fan art, and I'm very impressed with all of it.
Yeah, he is fantastic.
And what a name.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Johnny Cage, and we're all caught up. So pro wrestling. Michael, you told me before you had a Hasbro collection.
Yeah, I do. And I just went through it because the Hasbro series that I've got, I don't know if Hasbro kept up with when it became WWE, but I came into wrestling during Hulkamania. Mm-hmm. I think I was 9, 10, whatever, and just absolutely obsessed. I started collecting the Hasbros back then, but you're a kid, you can only go. I could only go down to my local shop, and I just got whatever they had. But since then, I became an adult. And what do you do when you're an adult? Well, you finish your collection. So I just went through them all and found how many. There actually aren't that many of the guys from that collection that stayed through to the Attitude Era. Yeah. One of my favorites, Undertaker. And I love this figure because it's huge. It's like that's the thing I like about the Hasbro collection is they're pretty good with the scale. Not the Attitude Era Boss Man outfit, but that's what he used to look like back when back in what was it, like 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
And then of course key guys for this era.
Nice. Sean and Brett. Two. Awesome.
Yeah. And although I do have this one, and this is the only wrestling figure that I have that is not part of the Hasbro group. But there you go. There's
Nice,
Mankind. And he's still in a very beaten up card there. But I also just wanted to show off something that I got. This is the pièce de résistance of my collection. Obviously very different attire
wow.
there. But
the mail away
the mail away version of Hulk. And I just
Wow.
checked the other day what that's worth. And it's pretty insane. It's like getting close up to, I think, like 1,500 or something.
Yeah, that's incredible.
For a little figure. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's not Attitude Era, but, whatever. I wanted to show it off.
No. I guess I got into wrestling a little before you. I collected the LJN, the big rubber guys that had no
That was my
articulation.
first introduction to wrestling, was throwing those things down the street and watching them bounce. And but I had no idea who I was throwing. I think there was the Sheik. Did they have a Sheik there? One of them?
Yeah, they had like the first wave was Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, Superfly Snuka, Junkyard Dog, Roddy Piper. Yeah, I had the whole first wave. The thing I hated, once you played with them, their paint wore off.
They became very dull.
Yeah. But I still collect wrestling figures. Yeah, you can see my case behind me. I'm a bigger WCW guy. Actually, today when I was out, I had to make a run to the store. I picked one of the newer figures up. This is a Mattel figure, and this is a flashback
now.
Yeah, this is a flashback of Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was stunning Steve Austin in WCW. so he has hair. He was part of a tag team called the Hollywood Blondes with Brian Pillman. So I've been looking for this one for a while. So I just happened to find it today, and it's my birthday weekend, so I've decided to treat myself.
Yeah, I was, in preparation for this show. I did more preparation for this show than I've done for any of my shows ever. I thought I don't want to come off looking like a complete idiot because, I came into I sort of fell out of wrestling when I got into comic books, which we're talking kind of like mid 90s or something, or early to mid 90s. So I wasn't watching when the whole Attitude stuff kicked off. But funnily enough, it was my mother who got me back into wrestling. I don't know how old she would have been at the time, probably like a 40-year-old woman or something. Got me back into wrestling when The Rock blew up. Yeah. And that's when I came back into it. And that's when I learned about Stone Cold, Mankind. That's the first time I ever heard of Vince. Back in the day, Vince wasn't part of the show at all. Yeah. At least that I can remember. I didn't know who he was.
No, he was just the play-by-play guy. The really smart fans knew he was the owner, but he would never bring that up on air that he owned the company. He was just Vince, the play-by-play guy. And to kick off our most memorable moments of the Attitude Era, I thought you have to start with the Montreal Screwjob, because that's when Vince became. He was no longer Vince the commentator. He was Vince the owner. Screwing Bret the Hitman Hart out of the world title because he was going to WCW and he was afraid of Bret taking that title with him on WCW TV. So he worked with Shawn Michaels and Earl Hebner and said, "Look, Bret refuses to lose to Shawn Michaels, so we're going to make him lose." Shawn Michaels put Bret in the sharpshooter, Bret's finisher. And Earl Hebner went for rang the bell immediately that Bret gave up. It was huge.
That feud was like real life, yeah. Between those two guys, that they legitimately had serious beef with each other. But from what I heard, that was the thing. Did that kick it off? Did that start getting WWF back in the limelight? That feud?
Yeah, I think it was like Vince becoming a character. Because the next night he went on Raw and they did a sit down interview with him, and he did his whole "I didn't screw Brett, Brett screwed Brett," and he became the Mr. McMahon character. And like the Mr. McMahon character would go on to feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I think that's the whole thing that really like helped WWE, beat WCW, because WCW is winning in the ratings with the NWO.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, Brett, Vince screwing Brett, I think helped his company not only keeping the title from going on WCW TV, but from starting to spice things up and winning the ratings.
It's yeah, it's so funny how it all went, how it's so similar. I feel to what is happening right now on the internet in comic books, especially in comics. Like I myself am embroiled in a number of feuds. You're one of them. The justice for Poulton is very real out there. And sometimes you have to be the villain. It just if the moment I'm the villain for a lot of people out there. Maybe that's what I'm trying to emulate Vince.
I mean, you're a heat magnet. You're a natural heel. You
because they just say things off the cuff without thinking about them, and then
you know what you're saying.
There's one in here, like Edwin the Ace is in here saying Bancroft couldn't just steal Hardline's takes for shows. He had to actually do his homework this time.
So I think that was like the key moment. Vince becoming a character on the show. But like speaking of characters, like they're probably not going to be like, well, Edge and Christian would go on to become like main players, but they got their start as part of the Brood, which I absolutely loved. The Lost Boys is my all-time favorite movie. I've always loved vampires, so when they debuted with Gangrel as part of the Brood, I was just captivated by them. Their entrance. Are you familiar with them? They rose with around a ring of fire.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I could only watch the sort of Hulkamania era on VHS. So I would go and hire them and sometimes try and copy them. And then I would watch them to death. So I remember all those matches and those events and those people like really well. And then I thought, I don't really remember the Attitude Era as much because I was watching it on TV and it was kind of a one and done thing. But actually then I went back and I looked at a lot of these guys, and even though I might not remember them by name, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, those guys. Yeah. Well, I probably do, but I just don't know if I do.
Well, maybe I can refresh your memory, because you and the leader of the Brood, Gangrel, share the same type of dress attire. Let me pull this up.
Okay, really?
Yes.
Really?
Let me pull this up.
I do like to dress up on occasion when the timing is right.
Oh, if I can pull up the application, give me a second.
Oh, I know what it's like.
Yeah. Let me see. So I have this picture pulled up. Oh, let's try.
I'm sure he's just standing in a nice svelte black t-shirt.
Absolutely.
That's just nothing out of the ordinary.
Oh, it's not working for me, Michael.
Oh no.
Give
me the name. I'll see if I can find it.
Well, it's Gangrel.
Gangrel.
But he wears a pirate shirt as well.
So he stole my bit.
You could say that. 20 years ago, he stole your bit.
Oh no. Oh, there we go. I got it. Yeah. This looks like. I mean, this is a very manly man. Here, I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
This is a man's man. This is a man of
Yep.
Look
Nope.
at that.
That's the exact picture I had. I had a nice side by side comparison though to who wore it better. But yeah,
That's where I've been going wrong. I've been doing mine all the way. I've got it right here. I still keep it
Yeah.
here. Let me just one sec. Here we go. I've been doing my buttons all the way up to the collar, but
yeah.
clearly
Just
I need to open it up a little bit, get a bit of metal going, and yeah, we'll be good to go. Yeah, no, I do remember this guy. I just, yeah, I remember the names of the main players, but other guys, yeah, the names might be escaping me. But
yeah.
what a fantastic dresser!
Yeah, no, absolutely. But so he was the leader of the Brood. With him were Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian would go on to
Oh, yeah.
be much bigger stars
Mhm.
when they broke away from Gangrel. They became embroiled in a feud with the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys
Mhm.
over the tag team championships, and that would lead to a ton of tables, ladders, and chair matches where they would hang the tag team championships high above
Yep.
the ring,
Yeah,
and
love that.
they would basically build like these constructs out of chairs and tables and ladders. Jeff Hardy would do death-defying maneuvers. I think one of the greatest WrestleMania moments is Jeff Hardy is hanging from the rings that the belts are strapped to,
Mhm.
and the ladder got kicked out from under him. So he's just hanging high above the ring, and Edge climbs the top of a ladder and spears Jeff Hardy off the top of the ladder, and they fall. In my head, when I was younger, it was like 30 feet, but it's probably only like 10 or 15 feet. But it seemed incredible at the time.
Well, 10 or 15 feet is still a
Oh,
pretty.
absolutely.
I wouldn't want to fall off that. I mean, I don't know. These days, I don't watch the wrestling anymore. I listen to like Stone Cold's podcast or other sort of people's podcasts, and they tell these old stories about this stuff, and you get to hear, what was happening, what they were going through at the time, and then what happened backstage and what happened on the road, and they're doing the show as best as they can, but like someone might have their knee popped out or something,
Yeah.
and then they have to improvise. I love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of not only like Stone Cold's podcast, but there's a bunch. This guy Conrad Thompson, he does
Mhm.
a ton. He does one with Bruce Pritchard, who was Brother Love back in the day, but he works behind the scenes in WWE for like almost 40 years, and they go over all the major storylines. It's really good stuff. It goes really in depth behind a good peek behind the curtain.
Yep.
Don Chin asked me to share my screen. He has something he would like us to see. There you are in pop Funko Pop.
Brilliant, Don. Wow. Hang on. That is very lifelike. Now I'm not gonna. It's 7:30 in the morning here. I don't think even if Mel would allow it, which she absolutely wouldn't. I don't think having a VB would be appropriate, but I'll hold it in spirit. Here we go. There we go. Look, it's so lifelike.
Yeah,
It's so lifelike. Well done. That's amazing. Yeah, I saw that someone on Twitter shared with me the pirate one, and then I'm like, oh, well, it has to have the beard on it as well. But yeah, the hat too, the gay time. For anyone who's watching who doesn't know, the golden gay time is the Australia's favorite ice cream, and some people tried to get it taken down because of the slightly outdated name, but it isn't outdated at all. It's a brilliant name, and it's of our time.
it looks delicious, by the way.
It is.
Eric in the chat asked, "Do you guys remember when WWF did a boxing event with their guys? It was called Brawl for All. all. Do
Was
you
that
remember?
with what's his face? Tyson?
No. This was, they decided they had like a bunch of like mid card guys that they weren't doing anything with, so that they decided, hey, let's put gloves on them and let them fight for real. And yeah, yeah. So, have you ever seen the TV series Dark Side of the Ring?
No.
They basically it's by the Vice Network. They do documentary on famous famous wrestling legends and stories that sort of have like a dark twist to them. So this Brawl for All, it is probably considered one of the worst ideas in wrestling.
I could have told you that, and I didn't even know the outcome.
So the writer at WWE at the time, Vince Russo, he didn't like one of the wrestlers in the locker room, JBL, Justin Hawk Bradshaw, at the time, because he ran his mouth a lot. So Vince Russo thought, hey, I'm going to come up with an idea where they can actually fight for real, hoping that JBL gets knocked out and shut up. And most people thought the toughest guy in the locker room was Dr. Death Steve Williams. So they thought he was going to run through everyone and he was going to win the Brawl for All. The only thing is, during his match with Bob Holly, who at the time had a race car driver gimmick, he was Sparky Plug. Dr. Death pulls his hamstring and he's basically like useless in this fight, and Bob Holly knocks him out. So you're the guy who everyone thought was going to win and they had big plans for. They brought Dr. Death in to eventually feud with Stone Cold.
Yep.
He just got knocked out on TV by a low end guy.
Yeah. So amazing. Who would have thought that boxing is a little bit different to sports entertainment wrestling?
Yeah, people were getting hurt left and right in this tournament. The guy that, or no, it wasn't Bob Holly that knocked him out. I'm sorry, it was Bart Gunn. Bart Gunn, who was one half of the Smoking Guns. Billy Gunn went on to big success as one of the New Age Outlaws. Bart Gunn wasn't doing anything, so they threw him in this tournament. And he actually offered, before his match with Dr. Death, he said, hey, if you want me to take a dive, I know you have big plans for Dr. Death, I'll do it. And they kind of laughed him off, like thinking no way in the world he could beat Dr. Death. And he knocked. Was it just a size
thing?
No, I think it was a thing where Dr. Death was just so beat up, and then once he tore his hamstring, he was just like he couldn't move at all in the ring. So Bart Gunn knocked him out, and they had no plans for Bart Gunn. So after he won this tournament, they just sent him home for a couple months. And then at WrestleMania, they brought in the pro boxer Butterbean. Have you ever seen Butterbean?
Yep, I know Butterbean.
Yeah. And they had him box Butterbean at WrestleMania, and Butterbean like cleaned his clock in seconds.
Yeah, as Eric says, like, did they know if any of these guys have boxing experience? Because I assume that would it's a very different skill set. Who knows what could happen?
Yeah, Bart Gunn had done I guess a little amateur fighting, but everyone, I guess, was just pretty much, they had a reputation of being a locker room tough guy, but that compared to being an actual like prize fighter, there's a big difference.
Hilarious. Well, this is what happens because in the Attitude Era was the time when it all sort of blew up again, wasn't it? So I guess if everything's going well, now's the time to try new things.
Edwin the Ace says Bart Gunn had heavy hands and went into MMA after his WWE career, and Dr. Death had no idea what he was walking into. Yeah, poor Dr. Death. It's a kind of a sad end for his career because he was this legendary tough guy wrestler, and he never got a shot at WWE. And then when he finally does, a string of bad events happen to him. Phil Diaz says Butterbean sounds like it would be a Rob Arnold's wrestling gimmick.
I didn't say it. I just laughed at it.
Johnny Cage, Mark Marrow had a bright future ahead of him until he let his wife powerbomb him live. So Mark Marrow was Johnny B. Bad in WCW. I don't know if you were familiar with him. He had
I
little
know
Richard.
very little about WCW apart from the NWO. So
yeah, he had a gimmick where he was like a Little Richard impersonator, but he was a legit tough guy, Golden Gloves boxer. They brought him over to WWE, and it seemed like he had a bright future. Except the only thing, his wife became more popular than him. His wife was Sable.
Oh, right, okay,
yeah, and it didn't work out for Mark.
She had her own assets.
Yeah, his wife Sable went on to become one of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era. She would later divorce Mark, and now she's married to Brock Lesnar. She
didn't want to be married to someone that she could power bomb.
Yeah, apparently.
Who would have thought?
Sean Aaron says locker room tough guy sounds like most of the Twitter SJWs. Hicks villain. Best boxing match in WWF was Piper versus Mr. T, where Piper got frustrated, tossed the corner chair at Mr. T, and body slammed him. Yeah, Roddy Piper is my all-time favorite wrestler. They actually just released figures of that match where Mr. T and Roddy Piper come in their boxing attire. But yeah, that was a really fun match. You can actually hear Gorilla Monsoon on air yelling Roddy Piper not to knock Mr. T out, because Piper just was sick of I guess Mr. T not selling for him.
Was Mr. T, could he box, or was he? I mean, he played a boxer, but
yeah, he was just a Hollywood actor who thought I think he thought he was just as tough as the wrestlers. But Mr. T was part of the A Team back in the 80s, which was probably the biggest show at the time.
I love Piper as well. His figure, though, is, even though it looks great, it's very annoying that his Hasbro figure, because it doesn't stand up correctly. It's the only one that he's sort of like he's on his toes.
Yeah. My Piper is like right over in the corner, and he is laying face down on the shelf with all my other Roddy Piper figures that stand perfectly upright. No, he always likes to fall on his face.
Yeah.
Eric says Mr. T was athletic but not a fighter.
Yeah. I mean, you don't just jump into a wrestling ring, and even if you work out, I mean, it's like, what did you say? I mean, obviously he's not going to be doing 15-foot drops, but you're going to be doing some things. So yeah. Oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that they fought. That's funny.
Yeah, that's kind of infamous. Were you a fan of at all of the more hardcore stuff? They at the time they had a hardcore.
My brother was. He's the one who introduced me. Is that like with Mankind?
Yeah.
Yeah, he introduced me to Mankind. But I wasn't really. No, I wasn't. But you know, I looked at it a little bit, but it wasn't really my main thing.
Yeah. You have to remember the Undertaker throwing Mankind off.
Of course, yeah. That was actually one of the things that I'd put in my notes. Like, we have to talk about that, because that was legitimately insane. And again, I was listening to a podcast with the Undertaker, and he was talking about that, about what it was like, how, and even just the setup itself. They got up there and they could hear the little metal joiners, that connect the cyclone fence or whatever you call it, to the metal rods, and they were popping. So they had no idea, because they're big guys, if the whole thing was just going to fall down underneath their feet, and they're doing the show, and it was.
No, it's incredible that he wrestled the whole match, because first he gets thrown off the top of the cage. Then, like you said, he goes through the fencing and hits the ring. it's amazing. And Mankind, that's just one of many instances during the Attitude Era where he just put his body on the line. There's an I Quit match with The Rock where The Rock is just like bashing him over the head with chair shots. At the time, I thought it was incredible. Watching it now, it's really hard to watch.
Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, I didn't watch Mankind coming up. I don't know much about his history other than, and you wonder, like, he's a massive sort of crowd favorite. And was it that, he doesn't fit the bill? If I thought, okay, if ever you wanted to be a wrestler, well, you've got to get big. You got to get big and strong and muscly, and he didn't really do that. I mean, he's a big guy, but he didn't, like, that wasn't his thing at all. He just took punishment, insane levels of punishment. So he went in a whole different, he did pro wrestling in a whole different way in a lot of the other guys that just, like, they get really buff and then they create a character and see how it goes from there. But when you see that, some of the stuff that, and he's got like blood all over his face, and it was pretty nuts.
Seeing him today and seeing how such a hard time he has moving around, you really see the toll his body took. I did back when there was comic conventions, I did one in Virginia, and we stayed at the same hotel. So I would see him like every morning hobbling through the lobby. It's he gave us so many memorable moments, but at what cost to himself?
Yeah, he paid a massive price. I knew a guy. Everyone who watches my channel knows I used to be a rollerblader. And when I say rollerblading, I don't mean spandex down the street. We were, we used to travel overseas and, skate in big vert competitions and stuff like that. And like we're saying with just skateboarders and the BMXs, and there's always one guy who was like that. Like, it wasn't like he was particularly super skilled, or he didn't have some massive talent or something, but what he did have is he would put his body on the line like no one else would. And
Mo Pig says you do mean spandex, but on a ramp.
You wouldn't wear, if you wore spandex on a ramp, the first time you bail, your clothes would just rip off and you'd be naked and covered in like heat burns or something. But yeah, I had this friend who would, like, we'd go to the ramp and we'd be doing things, and he'd go, you know what, like, he couldn't really do all that stuff, so he'd say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to climb up this 12-foot rafter and try and jump into the ramp.
Wow.
Even though he's never aired 1 foot in his life, he thought, oh, it'll be fine. I'll just drop off this 12-foot rafter into the ramp. And of course, we're like, no. He's like, yeah, it'll be fine. And then he does it, but he just lands flat on the bottom, falls like 20 feet. And he's like, oh, and it was very Mankind-esque, a guy who just would put his body on the line. And now, he is absolutely paying for
it. Sean says, were you wearing Spanx?
I don't know what Spanx is, so probably not. It's funny, like, the clothes we wore back then, and I'm talking mid to late 90s, early 2000s, they're the same clothes that I see all the kids out there wearing now. It's insane. It's like they raided my wardrobe from 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Rick Saylor, Michael did roller derby with the other tough chicks.
I went to a roller derby once. I can't remember why. I mean, just to watch, obviously, not to participate. And it is exactly how it looks portrayed in the media. I mean, all the chicks are the stereotypes. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
So we only have like 15 minutes left. We're gonna hop over to your channel to talk some Graveyard Shift soon.
Yeah.
We might have to revisit this topic another time, but we can't talk Attitude Era without mentioning DX. Did little Michael Bancroft ever get in trouble at school for saying "suck it" and chopping his crotch?
No, I didn't. Again, I was more of a rock guy, so
Yeah.
I might have been in trouble, for just saying it doesn't matter what you think or something like that. But no, I didn't do any crotch action to anyone I shouldn't have.
Yeah, so it's funny. The WWE network is now it was sold to NBC. It's now part of the Peacock app
Mhm.
with all NBC's programming, and NBC is going through that and editing stuff out. There's so much stuff from the Attitude Era that's not going to fly in today's day and age. The DX did a skit where they wore blackface. I don't see that showing up on the Peacock app.
It is crazy how
Yeah.
what would fly back then. Yeah, just doesn't at all. I watched Bill and Ted's the other day, and man, they were dropping words in that movie like nothing else that you would go like, oh wow, yeah, this would not happen today.
Yeah. So Eric got in trouble. He did the crotch chop at church. That's the absolute worst place to do it.
Hey, he's just a fan. I mean, yeah, you got to get it. That's the thing. Those guys, they the big ones were so larger than life. You got so sucked in to their thing, their shtick. Exactly, Darren Rather. It doesn't matter. And we haven't talked about Stone Cold either. The beer, the Austin 316 moment. I mean, there's so much.
Oh yeah.
It's how long did it last? Like 10 years? How long was that? Like, what's the actual numbers?
I think only not as long as you would think. I think it was only maybe 3 years because.
Oh, really? Okay.
Once like WCW was out of business, once Vince bought them, soon after it became known as what people call the ruthless aggression era, and that was like the rise of John Cena, Randy Orton, guys like that. So maybe the Attitude Era had a 3 or 4 year run, but so much happened during those 3 or 4 years. It feels like it lasted forever.
Yeah. Like, when you look back on it, all these big moments, that's interesting. I would have thought it was a lot longer than 3 years, because like I said, it was. I mean, it was everywhere. It was so big. I mean, The Rock was everywhere. Everyone you walk around, everyone's wearing Stone Cold t-shirts. We would sit there as a family, with my mum, watching like Raw or something. It was funny as, and I don't remember that being the case, before or after.
So you're a Rock guy. Do you have a favorite Rock moment?
They're all my favorite moments. I mean, it doesn't like it. I love his like whatever it's called, that the hype moment, the whatever pre or after, if you can smell, like, and the crowd, like, I never felt that before. Even back in the day with Hulk or Macho Man or Ultimate Warrior, although I was always the Jake the Snake guy, but and he really was, for me, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment history. But I did also like Stone Cold and the feud between Vince and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like history just backs up the fact that The Rock was the most electrifying guy. You look at the career he's gone on to have after wrestling. No other pro wrestler has matched that. I mean, Batista's doing okay for himself. John Cena's doing okay for himself. But The Rock is probably the biggest star in the world.
Yeah, it's insane. It looked a bit hit and miss there. There was a while where I was wondering, would he actually make it? Like, would he transition to the big star? And I feel like I wondered if the movies were, going in that direction. And he sort of figured it out. Like, he's good at the comedy, so he's just like that action comedy quite well.
Yeah. Well, I think when he first started out, he tried to be what he thought Hollywood wanted him to be because he really slimmed down. He was doing roles that it didn't really seem like The Rock should be doing. But then I think once he realized that, hey, I'm The Rock. I have the most charisma. Just when I'm myself, I don't need to pretend to be anyone else. Things really took off for him.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, like he's still called The Rock though. Like, people know he's Dwayne Johnson, but everyone still calls him The Rock, which is, that's the sort of a testament to how big he was at that time.
Hockey wants to know if you pooed the bed. Why are you up so early?
I get up at 5 a.m. every morning. Not every morning. I shouldn't lie. Most mornings. These comics, they don't make themselves. So...
Yeah, there's so much.
Darren just pointed out Kane and Undertaker. That first time when Kane came in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I remember Undertaker's first appearance as well. That was it had echoes of that. And
Undertaker debuted at Survivor Series as part of $1 Million Man's team, and he just ran through everyone on the opposite
because he was so massive. And then Kane came out, and he was even bigger.
Yeah, and at one point on Raw, Paul Bearer and Kane kidnapped Stone Cold, and they were going to embalm him live on TV.
Is that what, they put him in a coffin?
They had him. I think they had him strapped to a table, and they were going to embalm him. Bag? And my nephew was he was scared to death. He thought Stone Cold was going to die on live TV. So it was a lot of fun stuff back then.
Didn't someone pull a gun on Stone Cold?
Brian Pillman, who was Stone Cold's tag team partner as part of the Hollywood Blondes, which I was talking about. When he came to WWF, he was known as the Loose Cannon, and he feuded with Stone Cold, and Stone Cold came to his house and was going to attack him at his house, and Brian Pillman pulled a gun on him, and then they just went dead air, and I think that's how Raw ended that week. And apparently they got a lot of calls, a lot of worried people thinking that Stone Cold may have been shot, because I think it ended with the camera pulled away and you heard a gunshot, and then they went off the air.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's great though.
Yeah,
that's funny.
It's
like.
Oh, go ahead.
It's not quite the wrestling that I remember when I was a kid. So I'm glad I was a little bit older when all that came on. But it certainly was entertaining.
Are you familiar? Kane is now a mayor in Georgia.
I did not know that. I just found that out. That's funny. But no one messes with him.
Yeah, Kane just announced for this year's WWE Hall of Fame. So shout out to Kane.
You know who actually got some measure of success? Obviously not. The same level as The Rock, but the Big Show has his own TV show. My daughter watches it. Like, he plays the Big Show with a fake family.
Oh, the Big Show. Yeah.
And she actually watches it. And I'm like, do you know who that is? That's the Big Show.
He actually just made a lot of news after 20 some years with WWE. He just jumped ship and joined the new company, AEW.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. How old is he?
I mean, he's got to be late 40s. So Big Show. I used to work out at a gym that was it was like this old flea market, but they had a gym attached to it. But then behind the gym there was a wrestling school, and I saw there was no walls. You could just they had a curtain hanging up, and you could just push the curtain aside and peek into the wrestling school. And one day, we're working out, and we move the curtain, and we see this giant 7-foot guy running the ropes back and forth with long flowing brown hair. It was the Big Show.
What year was that?
Oh, it was mid 90s.
Was he just as massive, the biggest man you've ever seen?
Yeah, incredible. And then maybe a couple months later, we saw him on WCW TV pretending that he was Andre the Giant's son and feuding with Hulk Hogan.
That's funny. Yeah, that is another guy that I like to listen to occasionally. He has
Yeah.
good stories.
Comic Book Bob says Big Show is 49.
Wow. Yeah.
So
no,
he's doing commentating now. I'm not sure if he's going to get in the ring and wrestle. I would think they're going to probably get him in there for one more match. But I think we're going to probably have to wrap this up. You have to get your show set up, and we're going to have to.
Yeah, we're on in 9 minutes, everybody.
Right.
So make sure you come over and hang out with us over on my channel. It's just Michael Bancroft. I see a lot of you guys in here are regulars. So yeah, we're gonna talk to Mark and John about the new Graveyard Shift campaign, which looks pretty cool.
Yeah. So Michael, I want to thank you for joining me. We'll have to do this again. We hardly touched
Scratch the
Attitude
surface,
Era. Yeah. But anyway, I want to thank everyone in the chat. Comic Book Bob, Darren Wagner, Johnny Cage, Hicks Villain, Mr. Von Stugel, Mo Biggs, Eric McIntyre, Black Rose Comics, Hockey. We got Sean Aaron in there, Don Chin, Zaid Comics. I saw Amanda B in there, Lord Crackhead. I think that's everyone. Rick Saylor. And I think we're good. If I missed anyone, Edwin the Ace. How could I forget Edwin? He's the biggest wrestling fan. I think in CG next to me. Oh yeah, Edwin has a huge wrestling channel. It's got to be.
I did know that.
Yeah.
Why do I always forget these things? I did know that. He did tell me that. Yes.
All right, guys. Follow us over to Bancroft's channel. We're going to be talking Graveyard Shift. Happy Easter, everyone.